Massachusetts is bleeding talent. Prime working age adults, mid career professionals, and high earning families are packing up and heading straight for the border. This chart compares housing supply against cost of living. A deficit of over 200,000 homes pushes Greater Boston's median price near $1 million. The cause lies in local zoning. 96% of residential land allows only single family homes, banning denser multifamily developments. Businesses are feeling an equal squeeze. Employers are navigating expensive new mandates, like wage transparency laws and rising family leave caps, on top of a highly polarizing 4% surtax on top earners. When you pair nearly 7-figure starter homes with heavy corporate compliance costs, you create an environment where the exact workforce required to sustain the local economy simply cannot afford to stay. When a state faces an economic bottleneck of this size, you'd expect the legislature to resolve it. But Massachusetts operates under a unique set of rules. It is the only state in the country where both the legislature and the governor's office claim total or partial exemption from standard public records laws. Committee votes are kept secret. Individual lawmaker voting records are incredibly difficult to track. Even the state auditor has been blocked from conducting independent oversight, earning the state a national award for government secrecy. A compounding affordability crisis met with absolute political opacity leaves citizens with very few options. Instead of waiting on lawmakers, voters are taking the law into their own hands. The 2026 ballot features 9 citizen-initiated questions. Because these initiatives bypass traditional legislative routes, voters get to act as their own lawmakers. Take question 7. It attempts to directly address the housing crisis by limiting the ability of local governments to ban single-family homes on standard residential lots. Voters are also pushing for zoning reforms that allow for missing middle housing, buildings like these classic triple-deckers and townhouses, bypassing the traditional neighborhood character defenses used to block new construction. The public is also rewriting state finances. They are dictating how to spend a massive $3 billion surplus from the millionaire's tax and using Question 2 to grant unionization rights to public defender employees. Citizens are using the ballot box to manually rewrite the state's economic code, overriding local municipal zoning boards and state tax policies alike. Beyond economics, the ballot is functioning as a literal veto tool to tear up existing social policy. Question 9 is a veto referendum asking voters to completely repeal the state's sweeping 2024 firearms law. Opponents of the law argue that its strict registration mandates and live fire training requirements infringe on Second Amendment rights, while proponents insist the restrictions on untraceable ghost guns are essential for public safety. Then there is Question 8, a proposal to entirely ban the retail sale of recreational marijuana. An oversaturated market caused prices to plummet, while rising concerns over high-potency products and youth access have put a 10-year-old legalization measure on the chopping block. Voters have turned the ballot into a direct legislative veto, using it to systematically dismantle the legislature's recent legacy. The most aggressive questions on the ballot are aimed squarely at the mechanics of the democratic process itself. Question 1 would force standard public records laws onto the governor's office. Questions 3 and 4 propose a shift to all-party primaries, where the top 2 candidates advance regardless of party, and implement same-day voter registration. While voters seek to expand access, a new federal executive order limiting mail-in ballots threatens to restrict it. Advocacy groups are currently suing to block the order, warning it will cause massive disenfranchisement for the elderly, military families, and disabled voters. Let's look at a chart showing where the money for these 9 initiatives is coming from. The capital backing these campaigns isn't local. It is heavily concentrated among wealthy national political action committees and corporate groups, completely dwarfing local grassroots funding. Voters are trying to democratize their state government, but the very mechanism they are using has been heavily financed and influenced by out-of-state interests. 9 complex citizen-initiated questions present a very literal, physical obstacle. There is barely enough room to fit all the descriptions, text, and choice markers onto standard ballot layouts. State officials warn that an overloaded ballot leads to heavy voter fatigue, accidental selection errors, and massive delays at the polling stations. The sheer density of these questions transforms the 2026 election into a structural referendum on the state's viability. Take a severe cost of living crisis, combine it with a completely opaque legislature, and filter the fallout through an overloaded electoral system. You are watching the machinery of governance snapping under the weight. When the economy pushes you out and the state house closes its doors, chaotic direct democracy is the final tool citizens have to force their own survival.